Hello, and welcome to the 33rd episode of Unlimited Opinions. I'm Adam Bishop.
I'm Mark Bishop.
And as always, we're reading Anthony Kenny's A New History of Western Philosophy, and this chapter is about modern logic.
I think Mr. Kenny's running out of gas.
You think so?
Yeah, well, the modern stuff is just not as interesting or historically significant.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you think?
Yeah.
Because, like you start off with, the ancient Greeks, you got Aristotle, you got Plato, and now we're talking about, using symbols and logic.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we've done this in chapters in the past, though. There's always been a chapter about logic, I think, since medieval,
yes.
the section, but...
You don't go to a bar picking up a girl talking about Wittgenstein or...
No, probably not.
Who do we actually talk about? We didn't even talk about Wittgenstein. I'm trying to think who I had. Oh, Frege.
Yes.
Hey, I just read about Frege. Let me tell you about Frege's refoundation of logic.
So we start off with John Stuart Mill and his empiricist logic.
Hey, did you ever see the movie, speaking of picking up chicks by being smart, ever see the movie Good Will Hunting?
No.
You should see that.
Okay.
It's good. It's with that one kid and his buddy, Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. No. Was it Matt Damon?
I have no
They're
idea.
the buddies.
Are they the buddies?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
They won an Oscar. It was their first real big movie. They co-wrote it.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah. And everybody in Hollywood then hated them the next week because they were in their 20s and they won an Oscar. And there's some bitter 50-year-old writer out there saying, sons of bitches. Been working at this for 30 years.
Yes, that's fantastic.
Right.
So Mill's empiricist logic. So Mill believed that proper names, pronouns, and definite descriptions were all names. So really anything that specifically points to one certain thing, that's a name,
A nominalist.
Yes. Empiricist.
Nominalist.
Yes.
When you put names and everything, aren't you a nominalist?
I suppose so, yes.
Oh, you just turned down my volume.
I did not try. I'm trying to keep you from peaking. Calm down.
I'm nothing but a series of peaks. Ever greater peak of brilliance.
That is not exactly how I describe it. So with this...
there are no valleys.
This nominalist sort of empiricist logic, he believed that verbal inference brings us no new knowledge, as the conclusion with verbal influence is kind of within the premise.
Influence or inference?
Inference, sorry.
Yes.
I can't read my own handwriting. So he believed that there was two separate types of inference, verbal and real. And so verbal inference would be something like, let me try to find his example here. So the verbal inference would be all Germans are Europeans, some Germans are blonde, therefore some Europeans are blonde. And so with that verbal inference, you're not really coming to any new information. All of that information is contained within those first two sentences. The fact that,
Right.
all Germans are European and then some Germans are blonde. So you're not getting any new information with this. Some Europeans are blonde.
Do you find that I don't know if your experience with your cohorts, that a lot of people can't figure out that simple induction from, all Germans are blonde, and some Europeans are Germans, therefore some, I can't remember the example.
But
then
all Germans are Europeans.
Yes.
Some Germans are blonde.
Yeah, and so then some Europeans are blonde.
Yes.
Or is it some Germans are European? I don't know.
I don't know.
But a lot of people can't figure out that basic logic. Mm-hmm. Do you notice that? People just can't even reason themselves. If this, then that. If I have this is part of that group, and that group is part of a larger group, then the smallest group is part of the largest group. Mm-hmm. You're ignoring me at this point. You're not even paying attention.
I'm trying to, yes.
But do you see that there are, especially in high school, that people just can't figure out how to do basic logic?
Yeah, I have seen that,
and you're like, wait a second. Like, well, that is not necessarily true. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. It's necessarily true.
Yes.
It has to be true. If the two premises are true, then the conclusion follows.
Mm-hmm. And I accidentally read the wrong example. That was with Frege.
There we go.
Yes.
I was wondering where you were saying that from. But
The
that
verbal
is a good
inference,
experience. But
yeah.
it's still the same thing, isn't it? Yeah.
It's similar, yes.
I mean, you're
but
still making the inference.
Well, the verbal inference would be more like, no great general is a rash man, and you can reword that to no rash man is a great general. So that's where I misspoke
deep.
there.
That's deep.
It's not. That's kind of what he's saying, is that there's no new information when you just switch the words around it. That information was already in that first premise.
I agree with that, but don't you think it gives you, looking at it from the other side, gives you a better understanding of it?
I guess.
I think so. It seems like he's like, well, it's just the same thing, just opposite.
And
well,
so the real inference, the opposite side of that would actually be the first example I pointed to, because that's not actually contained within those premises. You know, all Germans are European. That's one separate thing. All Germans are blonde. That's a different or some Germans are blonde.
Right.
That's a separate thing. And nowhere in that first sentence does it say some Europeans are blonde. So that's where that real inference is.
That's a real inference.
Yes.
That is correct. So your example was wrong.
Yes, I was reading.
Yes, but I didn't catch it, so I just kind of rolled with it.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Yes, I didn't think too much of Mill's stuff. Did you? Did you get anything from that? I mean, he's talking, well, you got this and you got that. I don't know.
Not too much, except for something towards the end, which I think we've mentioned before, is his belief that arithmetic and logic are just very well confirmed generalizations from experience.
Yeah.
So he believes, nothing's really been proven for sure. We're just gradually getting closer and closer to the truth, I guess.
Yeah, I appreciated his, where he kind of called out that there are the canons of experimental inquiry. I don't know if I'm moving ahead, but it's the two of them are specifically mentioned by Mr. Kenny. The method of agreement. If A, B, and C are one thing, and C, D, and E are let's see, how does the example go? That some of them agree. So A, B, and C are something, and C, D, and E. Then you know that C.
Here, I have what you're looking at.
Right.
The method of agreement. It states that if a phenomenon F appears in the conjunction of the circumstances A, B, and C, and also in the conjunction of the circumstances C, D, and E, then we are to conclude that C, the only common feature, is causally related to F.
Right.
So looking
because you look at where it's true of both sets, and then the method of disagreement where you're looking for the things that don't agree. Right.
So like a Venn diagram.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Yes. Yeah, so that's kind of, I mean, he brought on that theory and that kind of stuff.
So now moving on to Frege's refoundation of logic. So Frege was very, very influential if you really, really care about logic, I would say. Because a lot of this chapter is really into the details of how logic functions in these new kind of ways of looking at logic. And Frege definitely kind of restructured things very, very drastically.
I don't know. I see that's kind of a statement denigrating logic as a part of philosophy.
Well, I mean, just the way it's presented here is just very dull. It's not exactly what I'm interested in. So,
well, you can't. You have to study formal logic, where you have these symbols and stuff. I mean, not necessarily the way Mill or Frege, that's how you say his name. But the modern symbolism used is I cannot overemphasize how important that is.
Really?
In organizing your thoughts and your arguments. And if you don't have logic, you have no understanding of the world. I mean, and that was one of the biggest things I learned that I still carry to me this day is the difference between something being factually true and an argument being valid. That just because it's true doesn't mean that you've made a valid argument, that this conclusion is drawn from these facts, that if you have these facts, then you necessarily have to have this conclusion. Because you have a lot of people that say, the economic system is unfair, and some people make too much money, therefore communism will solve everything. Well, those are three statements, and the first two may be true, but the third one is not a conclusion from the first two. And I'm kind of oversimplifying it, but they hear these arguments all the time for different, especially in economics. Well, here's a fact, here's a fact, here's a fact, here's a fact, and here's my conclusion. But those facts don't necessarily support that conclusion, and unless you really analyze it, you get caught up in it. And a lot of people get caught up on the emotional side of it. It's like, well, yeah, right on, let's do it. But unless you have a valid argument, which means that the conclusion is formed and is necessary based upon the premise, then you have just a bunch of babble.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, go ahead. No.
I mean, that's a very good point. I was just kind of saying, just, looking into the details of, the terms he used to describe. That's kind of what I'm doing with here, which is very much what this chapter's focused on.
We're not really getting into the details of that. I get that. And it is kind of boring to go through, the symbols. And it's hard to explain on this to our listener, that there's this P arrow Q or squiggly line P arrow squiggly line Q.
Yes.
And how it works. But knock yourself out trying.
Yes. So one of the first things that Frege did is that, in years past, logic had always been broken into subject and predicate. So things like Socrates is mortal. Socrates was always the subject, is mortal, is always the predicate. That's just how things are, and that's how you kind of designed your logical statements. He instead broke each sort of proposition into argument and function. And that made things much more flexible, because now you're not just restricted to blank is blank. You can really kind of make things much easier to break up into pieces, and you can rework your argument much, much simpler than just with a simple X is Y and things like that.
It allows you to deal with contingencies and some of this and most of that or all of these. Yeah, right.
Yeah, the example he gives is Wellington defeated Napoleon. And, in the old system, it'd be Wellington is the subject, defeated Napoleon is the predicate. But now you can use Napoleon as as kind of the argument, or as the function, sorry. Napoleon would be the function, and then defeated Wellington, that would be the argument. Or you can break it up differently into Wellington is now the function, and Napoleon defeated is the argument. You kind of just break these sentences up into more easily palatable sections depending on what sort of logical conclusion you're trying to come to. Any thoughts on that? Or?
I'm not sure that is exactly how to explain it with the function. That, like, there's a subject and predicate. I think the function could either be Wellington defeated, or Wellington defeated, or Napoleon defeated, or Napoleon was defeated by. I think that was the function had to do with the action, but yes, he made a big step forward with the using symbolic logic and a formal analysis of argument to really kind of break things down. And I'm not one to try to get lost in the details and but I think when you're talking about complicated arguments and reasoning, I think it's very, very helpful.
Because in the old system, you'd kind of have to say, Wellington is the victor over Napoleon, I guess you would have to say, in the whole, X is Y situation. Now you can use those more contingencies and go into longer arguments with the function and the argument. Right.
But it is kind of a dry subject, I guess, now that we're talking about it. And our listener is
bored out of his mind, yes.
It's a her.
What?
You think our listener's a guy?
I don't know.
I thought our listener was a girl.
Okay. He also developed new notations and abbreviations, like you were saying, so you can kind of set up these sort of logical premises almost more like a mathematical equation, I guess you would say, with new symbols for parentheses meaning all of this sort of thing, and squiggly lines meaning not this and that sort of thing, and just made things much easier to notate and much quicker to work through than having to write out full sentences like you would usually have to.
And then you can kind of analyze completely. Well, it's kind of like my argument about if the creator is evil. That argument is just as valid as if the creator is good. I haven't seen anything that would refute or would necessarily cause us to believe that the creator of the universe is good. The creator of the universe could be evil, pure evil. It is only our fight against pure evil that has given us free will and any sort of virtue.
That was uplifting.
Well, it is. It would be, I think, more inspirational from a personal human level if the creator was pure evil and we have spent our entire life resisting that.
I guess it'd be more impressive. Force. I don't know about inspiring.
What's the difference? I mean, I know there's a difference in the definition,
Yes.
but
Well,
you'd rather be impressive than inspired, impressed than inspired.
Well, I
I
don't think
it's
saying that God
inspirational.
is evil, the creator of everything, that's not inspiring. That does not inspire me to do better. If, the creator of the world is just evil and awful.
You don't think that fighting against an omniscient, omnipotent being that is pure evil is inspirational?
No, because if it's an omniscient being, I would think I have no chance of fighting against it.
But you have, and you've had great success.
And I guess that would be inspiring.
Because you do a lot of good, and you're a good person.
Yes.
In spite of the fact that you were created by pure evil. Isn't it a lot easier to do good if you were created in the image of a good God?
Yes. I think you meant to say evil God there.
No.
Oh.
It's easier. It's easier. It's harder to be good if you were created by a bad God.
Okay.
You're overcoming the evil that created you.
Yes.
To even be bad.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're a good person, my goodness, you'll never get a reward in the afterlife because he's an evil God. But anyway, my whole point was,
yes.
I got completely sidetracked.
Yes, that was a complete tangent.
Was that there is a logical argument for either the God to be good, or I guess I should say the creator to be good or the creator to be evil. I mean, we could, Satan is really God and God is really Satan. And, God's running around trying to undermine the natural order of things, being evil. The God that we know, like Jesus.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
You kind of lost me there.
Really?
Yeah.
Like Satan that runs around and tries to tempt people.
Yes.
But instead, we're just confused. Really, it's God running around trying to tempt people to good.
Okay. I don't... Well, I mean, then what's even the point? Like, what's the point of making that distinction? If you're going to say then there's just two sides of the same thing. We're just changing the name of it.
Because... What do you mean? I mean,
because what if there's a good God and an evil Satan and an evil God and a good Satan, then what's the point of the whole thing? There's just two different names for the same things.
But they're in reverse position.
Yes.
So that there's a difference there, and in a very real sense, I don't think a moral system is necessarily dependent on whether the creator is good or bad.
Okay.
Because if the creator is bad, I don't know that makes a difference with what my belief is good or bad. I don't think might makes right.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of arguments about God being good over the centuries was because God is the creator, and the God is, of course, going to create goodness because God is pure good. I don't think that follows. I think an evil thing can create things.
Okay.
I think it's just as valid of an argument. And that was my point.
Yes.
That you can make a logical, reasoned argument that the reverse is true.
All right, moving on to induction and abduction. We've talked about this so many times. I don't really
so you concede.
I do not. I just said moving on. Induction and abduction in Pierce. So Pierce really kind of talked about scientific inquiry, and he kind of broke it into three sections. Abduction, which is where you frame your hypothesis. You say, I think this is what's going to happen. Deduction is when you make tests. And then there's induction, where you make observations to confirm or refute your hypothesis. And so,
which of those is most valuable? It's not in the book. It's not in your notes. I'm asking you.
I'm just rereading all of them. I guess.
Oh, I'm sorry. So there's induction, hypotheses, and analogy, right?
Abduction, deduction, induction. So hypothesis, test, make observations. Well, I mean, they're all kind of dependent on each other.
The correct answer is induction.
Induction.
When you look at things and you gather evidence and you draw a conclusion based upon that evidence.
Okay.
Inductive thinking. What is the least common thing people do? Inductive thinking. They like to do deductive reasoning, where they have a conclusion and then try to find their supporting evidence. And that's a definition of the Democratic Party.
All right. Yeah, so with that, he kind of believes, Pierce believes that we are assisted by logic in nature itself to determine which theories are worth pursuing, worth testing. So he says, when we kind of look at these things and we want to, figure out what's going on, how we get to how this science works here, we almost have this innate sense of, what test is right. How do we actually test this hypothesis? Is this hypothesis going to work out? That sort of thing, which, I can kind of see as true for some people. Some people do have that just sort of innate ability to kind of look at this question, how do I best test this? But I think that is not true by and large for all of us.
Yes, that is what has been the topic of our discussion tonight.
Yes, exactly.
And I don't think that's innate. I think this has to really be taught in order for people to really be proper inductive thinkers, and I think that is something that is not being taught in our schools now. It used to be. A couple of generations ago, is that like they'd say, well, we're helping you be a thinking and reasoning person, and that used to be the case, but now they just want you to get the right conclusions. Well, that's not teaching somebody how to think; it's teaching somebody what to say and to memorize things.
Yeah.
But the induction is huge and very valuable, and that's what leads you to different conclusions. When you have a hypothesis, you have a theory, but then you have to get the evidence, and sometimes your hypothesis. The beauty of science, true science, is when you prove your hypothesis wrong. I mean, that's really the most exciting part of science, in my opinion, because if you prove yourself right, it's like, oh, I kind of already knew that. But when you go through the experiment, like that, gosh darn it, that's not right. Yeah. And then you realize I just proved something to myself and then to everybody else when you share it.
And then kind of similar to Mill, Pierce also says that, more experience, more testing brings us indefinitely close to the correct results, to actual true knowledge. The more we test, the closer we get.
That's like a good slogan. The more we test, the closer we get.
Yeah.
Put that on a t-shirt.
I don't think that's necessary.
We'll probably have to put it on the back. That's a lot of words.
Yes, it is a lot of words. Speaking of a lot of words, moving on to the saga of Principia Mathematica. Yes. So the first thing that kind of happened with this Principia Mathematica was...
Did you like the truth tables?
I did like the truth tables. I haven't gotten to that yet.
Well...
Is that they...
We're there in this chapter. It's on this page.
Yes, I understand.
All right, explain to the listener.
So the first thing that kind of happened was that Frige's notation was replaced with a much simpler version, which I think was very good, because I was reading all of Frige's stuff and it was just a lot of symbols. And
it's really tough to translate. It's like reading a foreign language, like that made-up language Tolkien had.
It was like 14 of them.
Yes. We haven't had a Tolkien reference in a few episodes, so we've been falling down on that. Yes. But I wonder if Tolkien read any logic from Frege and those guys.
I don't know that he did.
I'm surprised he doesn't have a symbolic language somewhere in there.
I mean, it's probably pretty likely that he did. I just don't know for certain. I mean, he'd read a lot of very different things, mostly, folklore and mythology and that sort of thing. So
we should write our own mythology.
Yeah, we should. So, like you were saying, the truth tables. And the truth tables were a tool used to help find, the truth values of statements. And how these kind of worked is, you'd use, letters as, abbreviations for facts. You'd have A, B, C in kind of a column. And then you'd have true or false below them. So if A is true and B is true, then C must be true.
Let's do a more simple one.
Okay.
So you have first column is A.
Yes.
Second column is B.
Yes.
Third column is A and B.
Yes. Yeah, that's what I was saying with C.
A and B, it means both of them.
Yes.
So it's A, B, and both. And so if the first two are true, then the third one has to be true because A is true, B is true, so A and B must be true. But if A is false, even if B is true, then A and B is false because one of them is not true. And then the next one would be, if A is false, well, how did I do it last time? The reverse. So then that the A and B is going to be false if either or the others. And then if both A and B are false, then A and B is false.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's the simple truth table.
Yes.
And it goes on for that. It gets a lot more
Mhm,
complicated
mhm.
when you have all of A or some of B,
Yes.
and then you got D and Q and all that stuff.
But these truth tables just made it a whole lot easier just to kind of look at it at a glance and see,
Right.
well, yeah, that follows there. You know, that
Correct.
makes sense. And you can just kind of look at it instantly and figure that out.
Right.
And Kenny kind of compares them to the axiomatical sort of propositions, which are the ones I was talking about earlier, you know, where you put them in just full sentences and that sort
Right.
of thing. And he says that these truth tables are much better because they represent all logical truths on level with each other. You know, you can just look at them, you know, in a
Right.
row, basically.
Right.
There's no kind of bias there.
Yes.
And there's no need to appeal to like self-evidence, you know, things. Oh, well, I intrinsically know this, you know, well, it's either true or false on the table. That's all
Right.
that's all you have. And it always determines if all outcomes are true or not.
Right.
You know, there's no other option there. It's either true or false.
Yes.
And that's very, very much simpler than anything that's happened in the past.
Yes. So there's a difference between truth and validity,
Mm-hmm.
because you can have a conclusion that is valid, but it's false
Mm-hmm.
because your premise is false.
Yes.
But the conclusion, the false conclusion, would necessarily follow from a false premise.
Mm-hmm.
But that's still a valid argument
Yes.
in a sense, because it isn't necessarily the conclusion that you get from the false
Mm-hmm.
premise,
Yes.
which is also beneficial to know.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
And so with all these
Yeah,
competing...
you don't really care about what I say about logic, do you? You're completely bored by the subject, aren't you?
I'm pretty bored,
All
yes.
right, all right, let's move along. I guess I was a lot more interested than you were.
Yes, apparently, because I
Ooh.
was very bored by this section.
All right.
So with all these competing systems, there are really kind of three criteria that all of these philosophers were really looking at. They were looking at consistency, and that
Yes.
was absolutely necessary.
Yep.
Your system has to be consistent. You can't make exemptions for, you know, if this argument and this argument. No, it has to be consistent across the board.
Right.
And two other things that were very preferable, but not necessarily necessary, I guess, were that they had to be independent and complete.
Mm-hmm.
And so with that independence, you know, it's kind of has to stand on its own. You know, you're not relying on all these other things. You know, you just have to look at it at a glance almost and see that, you know, these arguments hold up. And then with it being complete, I forget actually what they mean by completion here. Do you remember?
Well, I mean, yes, kind of. Just that it has to encompass really any scenario to throw at it.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have, well, this only applies to some arguments. I mean,
Yes.
you have to have a system that applies to no matter what kind of crazy baloney you're spouting out.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It has to apply to religious beliefs.
Mhm.
You know, it has to apply to bizarro beliefs and,
Yes.
and arguments and stuff like that. It's either true or false, and either flows from the argument or doesn't.
Mm-hmm. And with that completion, there was a big push at the time to try to determine that, you know, logic and arithmetic were the exact same thing. But Gödel concluded that
Kurt
arithmetic...
Gödel.
Yes.
That's a German name, I
Yes,
think.
very German.
Yes.
So Gödel concluded that arithmetic is incomplete and incompletable. So you can never fully complete mathematics. You can never fully complete arithmetic. And I don't know if it's worth going into his logic behind that statement.
I thought you were going to mention a Jerry Maguire quote.
I don't know any.
You don't know
Jerry
that. You don't
Maguire
know
fans.
that movie. You don't know the movie?
I don't know. the
Jerry
movie.
Maguire with Tom Cruise and that girl who talks like a baby.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Well, he says at the end, "You complete me."
Oh,
It's famous.
okay. Well, mathematics is incompletable.
Oh, okay.
So
It doesn't complete you.
it doesn't complete
All
me.
right.
It doesn't
Are we
complete
going to-
itself.
We're going on to modern modal logic.
Yes, modern.
I agree with this was boring. The
Mhm.
modern modal logic.
Yes. It's really kind of, from what I could tell, it's just a different way of kind of saying the same thing. You know,
Yes.
instead of, you know, you just use different words. It's the logic of necessity and possibility, and it was revived by C.I. Lewis. It was very popular in the medieval times. And so what necessity is that it is true in all possible worlds, and possibility is that it is true in some possible world. And so when you're looking at these kind of terms that they're using, you really can kind of just equate them to the different systems, you know, where always is kind of equal to necessary, sometimes is equal to possible.
Right.
So it's really just looking at it in different terms, you know, sort of those different definitions behind things to get sort of the same answers,
Yeah.
what I kind of feel.
Right. Just a different way of looking at it, and different symbols and a
Mhm.
different system, but very much the same as the other ones.
Yes. Well, that was all
Yeah.
I had to say about modern modal logic.
I was a model. What was that song? Model of Merry Gentleman or something? What is that musical?
no idea what you're
We'll
talking about.
we'll have to look
You
it
keep
up.
making references, and I have no clue what you're
Well,
referring
they're
to.
a generation or two ahead of you.
Yes.
Model something gentleman. It's from a musical.
Interesting.
Yeah, I can't remember what it is though. I made a reference, but it was an incomplete reference. I violated the rule of completeness.
That's really, really unfortunate of you.
So now we have 2 movies that we have to watch. Jerry Maguire, You Complete Me.
All right.
Which is really, I don't think a very good romantic movie. Had a cute kid in it with glasses. And
Thanks for that anecdote.
You'll know what
I
I'm
was
saying.
really dying to know.
You'll know what I'm saying. He was famous for a little while. And what was the other one I mentioned?
Some musical.
No, wait, I don't remember that one. Oh, Good Will Hunting. You should see that. It's about a genius kid in Boston, and he picks up a chick by being really super smarter than the know-it-all kid from Yale or Harvard or where it was at a bar.
She's like a Socrates. He's putting all those know-it-alls in their place.
He did. Yeah, he did. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's a good movie. I think you'll like it. Yeah.
Well, thanks for the recommendation.
Yes, we'll have to watch that soon.
Yes.
So, have we had anybody on Twitter comment?
No.
About or suggest anything or say anything to us?
Well, let me check really quick.
Okay, double check. I think you need to branch out and start.
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of realized that there's really nothing for them to respond to. I just tweet out, when
they have to initiate something.
Well,
if they want to get a prize, they have to find us from our podcast and tweet something at us, and then we'll get them a T-shirt.
It certainly does.
Maybe you should post the video of you playing the organ on Beale Street over the weekend.
I guess I could.
We can get some comments on that.
Maybe.
I don't have that talent. I don't know.
I guess we should give some background to that.
What talents do I have? I don't know. I'm a professional bullshitter.
You could talk a lot about logic.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were in Memphis
on a little family vacation.
Thursday to Sunday. We were on Beale Street. I guess it was Friday night when we first.
Yes.
Well, not when we first went there. We went down there that night.
Yes. To Beale Street that's right.
We were in a club or a bar, I guess it was.
What's it called? Rum
Boogie Cafe on Beale Street.
Great bar.
Yes.
Good service. Great fried pickles.
Mm-hmm. Those are really good.
Those were good.
If you're in Memphis, go to the Rum Boogie Cafe on Beale Street.
And then you can see an awesome band by the name of Free World, which sounds more of a hippy dippy thing, but they're really an R&B, blues, classic rock. But they do like R&B and blues versions of classic rock songs, which are really, really good.
Yeah, they're an excellent band. Very, very talented.
Very tight. I mean, don't you think they were really, really good musicians?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, super high quality. I thought.
And so it was very surprising to me when we were talking to them after their set on Friday night, talking to their pianist, their keyboard player, about his organ. He had a Hammond SKX, a very fancy new Hammond organ. I was talking to him about, I mentioned that I had an organ, and he said, "Oh, why don't you come play with us? You guys still in town tomorrow?"
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah. And so we came back the next night, Saturday evening. We were just sitting down, eating some fried pickles, and their band leader saw me and singled me out from the crowd and pointed to me and said, "Hey, you're going to play something for us tonight, aren't you?" And so with very, very little preparation, I went up there.
Zero preparation. That was great. It was a lot of fun.
We're going to play Green Onions. And so I kind of asked the keyboard player, "Oh, how do you guys usually play this?" And he goes, "Well, usually you're the one who starts it off." Like, oh, all right. It's like, well, how do you end it? How do you, says, oh, just feel it. Just feel it.
Just feel it.
Oh, okay. Okay. So luckily that's the song that I know by heart, and I could keep up with that pretty well.
Yeah, I thought you did a great job.
Yeah, it was
fun times.
Amazing experience, yes.
Not as good as this podcast, but close. Close.
I don't know about that one. But I guess, I can put that on the Twitter. It has nothing to do with our podcast, but...
Yeah, maybe I'll get somebody to comment. Because if they comment, we have to track their butts down and get them a T-shirt.
Yes, that's true. It's true.
We'll have to design that thing then.
Yeah. It's been like 30 episodes now since we've talked about having a T-shirt contest.
True. Of the 33 episodes and still no tweets.
Mm-hmm. No tweets.
Very, very disappointing. Actually, I'm happy with it because the less exposure that I have, the better for me.
You're very against people listening to this.
That's correct.
That's strange.
Well, I insult half the population.
That is true.
At least once every podcast.
That is true.
And it's heartfelt. But I found that it's better if people don't hear the insults that you think.
Mm-hmm.
We all think insults of groups of people unfairly, but most of us don't share them. We just think them.
Yes.
And so that's better though, because we don't need to be criticizing people all the time.
Yes.
We don't need, if this is really a podcast about the history of Western philosophy. It's not a political podcast that I'm supposed to be espousing my anti-communist beliefs, but I think I'd
have it tagged as a politics podcast, as a subcategory.
Okay,
yeah.
good.
I mean, the main categories, it depends on the
yeah,
site, but
it's political philosophy a little bit there. Yeah, so maybe I am being a little more legitimate.
I think the overall categories I have it marked as books and literature, and then subcategories philosophy, history, and politics. I think it is. So
fair enough. Good. Well, I don't feel like I'm deviating too much from our topic. I don't want to surprise the listeners.
If they're still watching or listening, I don't think they're going to be surprised by too much.
True.
Yes.
So, what are your thoughts about this chapter about the modern era of logic?
I thought it was very dry, very boring to me personally. I think it's going to be the exact reverse this next chapter because we're talking about language.
Oh, God.
So, I think I'll be the passionate one. You'll be over there. Oh.
I couldn't care less about language. I mean, I care in the sense that you have to be able to articulate what your
That's kind of how I feel
are.
about logic. You have to come to those conclusions, but I don't think it's really necessary to say, oh, well, here's the language we use to do this. I do think it is important to articulate it properly, but to go into the definitions of necessary and possibility and that sort of thing, that's just what does not interest me.
Fair enough. Two sides of a different coin.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, this has been episode... Wait, that doesn't make any sense. This has been episode 33 of Unlimited Opinions. I've been Adam Bishop.
I'm still Mark Bishop.
Two sides of a different coin? What does that mean?
You have to ponder that logical statement.
That is not a logical. That's just an illogical statement.
They are two sides of different coins. It means they have no relation to each other. They're just different coins.
Wouldn't it be two sides of the same coin? Because we're both talking about logic. You just like it and I don't.
No, we're talking about the two sides of the coin of logic and the two sides of the coin of language.
Okay, but we're on different sides
coins.
of each of those coins. We don't have to.
We don't have to be.
Okay.
They're two sides.
We're done talking.
We're on opposite sides of two different coins.
Yeah, but we're on the same coin on each one, because on one side is you like it and the other side is you don't like it, and on the other it's you like it and you don't like it, and we're both on those coins. We're just on this different sides.
That's right. We're on different sides of different coins.
No, we're on different sides of the same coins, but there's just two of them.
That's correct.
There's two different coins, and
That's
we're on different
correct.
sides of the same coin.
I'm saying the exact same thing you're saying.
No, you're not.
I'm just saying it a different way.
Oh my God. Okay.
We're on two sides of two different coins.
I'm just gonna have to cut you off here pretty soon.
Is that not a factual statement that we're on different sides of two different coins?
No, we'd be on the same sides of different coins.
No, because we're on the opposite side. You're in favor.
No,
you're in favor of the language.
No.
I'm against it.
Yes.
And then I'm in favor of logic, and you're against it.
So we're different sides of the same coin. But if we're looking at the two separate coins, we're on the same side if we look at them across.
No, we're on the opposite side.
No,
you're plus. Your head, like if four is heads.
Stop.
If four is heads.
Okay.
And against his tails.
Okay.
I'm heads on this coin. I'm tails on that coin.
Yes.
So we're on different sides of different coins.
No, then we're on we're on the same side on different coins because we're on heads on each opposite coin. Because I'm
only on one head.
No.
I have heads on one. I have tails on the other.
Yes, and I have heads on one and tails on the other. So if we're looking at the different coins, we're on the same sides of different coins.
I'm on different sides of different coins.
No, we're on different sides of the same coin, same side of different coins.
I am heads.
No, let me
I'm
just-
heads on the
no,
logic coin,
no.
and I'm tails on the language coin.
Yes.
I'm on different sides
And I am
of different
yes,
coins.
and I'm heads on the language coin. You're tails on the logic coin.
You're on the
So, here,
opposite.
hold on. Okay. We have the 2 coins.
Yes.
We have the coins. You're up here on this one.
Yes.
Okay. I'm up here on this one.
I understand.
We're on the same side. But the different coins. Because we're on the same side. We're both heads on the different coins.
I agree with what you're saying.
Yes.
But we're also on different sides of different coins.
No, we're on different sides of the same coin. We're on the same sides of different coins.
There are 2 different coins,
Yes.
and I'm on a different side of each coin.
No.
I am on the heads of one
Okay.
and tails of the other. I'm on different sides of different coins.
Yes, you are on different sides of different coins.
Yes.
We are not on different sides of different coins.
Wait a second. But if I'm on different sides of different coins,
Okay.
then you must be on different sides of different coins because there's only 2 sides.
Yes. Me personally, but if we're comparing the 2 of us, we're on the same sides of
wasn't-
different coins.
I wasn't comparing us. I was
No.
adding us. We are both on different sides of different coins.
No, but if we are on same sides of different coins because we're both on heads on different coins. We're on the same side on different coins.
I agree. We're also on different sides of different coins.
Personally, yes.
That's is there like spiritually? I mean,
No,
what's the difference?
but when you group us together,
I
then,
didn't. I
yeah,
added us.
because if you're saying we, you have to split it up into 2 sentences. Otherwise, you change the meaning of the thing. Because you are on different sides of different coins, and I am on different sides of different coins.
Therefore, we are on different sides of different coins.
No,
We are together
no,
as at differences.
no.
Yes, we're
No.
both correct. You're arguing with me, but we're both saying the same thing.
But it doesn't work if we're on different sides of different coins.
And we just explained that.
No, because if you're shortening it to we are on different sides of different coins, then that would mean that so we're on different sides of different coins.
Yes.
So if a different coin, that would mean that you are heads on both, and I would be tails on both.
If we're on the same side of different coins.
No, if we're on
If
different
I'm
sides
the,
of
if
different
I'm on the same side of different coins, then I'm in favor of both.
No.
But I'm not in favor of both. I'm on different sides of different coins.
No, we're on the same sides of different coins because we're both on heads, but on different coins that mean different things.
I agree that your statement is true.
Okay.
My statement is also true.
Okay. We're just going to end it. That's it.
I'm not wrong. We are
We're
on
on different sides. We're on the same sides of different coins because we're both on heads on different coins. So on the same sides of different coins.
we are not both on heads on both coins.
No, but if we're looking at 2 different coins,
Agreed.
we are on the same side. You are heads on this one. I am heads on this one.
Correct.
So we're on same sides
Yes.
of different coins.
And if we have 4 coins, meaning I have 2 coins,
Why are there not 4?
because I have my coins that I'm going heads or tails,
Okay.
and you have your coins that are heads or tails.
Okay.
And therefore, if I have 2 coins
Okay.
representing the true, the in favor of or against of either logic or language, I have 2 coins. I'm going to be on heads on logic and tails on language.
Okay.
Correct? You will have a similar 2 coins, but with the reversed. Correct? Where you will have heads on language, tails on logic, and therefore we're in my example with the 4 coins, I am on opposite sides of different coins.
But it doesn't work with 4 coins because the whole point of the metaphor is that we are on the same coin but different sides because the coin is the issue and we are different sides of the issue. If you split it into 4 coins, it doesn't make any sense anymore. That's not the metaphor.
I understand it's not the metaphor,
Okay.
but it's a true statement.
But okay.
And so therefore it's,
Well, now we're just off on a tangent. We're
no.
using different coins. We're on something completely that's not the metaphor. We're not
It's
even talking about the same coins and the different coins. Now we just have 4 coins.
I know it's not the metaphor, it's a joke.
What's a bad one?
It's a joke because it's true.
All right, this has been Unlimited Opinions. We've gone like 10 minutes past when I said we were stopping.
I'm not wrong.
This is all after the outro music.
I'm not wrong.
All right.